program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our community and also around the world. Coming up on today's show, we'll hear about a movement to heal our nation through spiritual awareness. Then we'll take a look at an exhibit highlighting the rich history and tremendous contributions of Latinos here in our borough. And we'll give you an inside look at a new show providing aspiring writers with a unique opportunity to learn. Plus, we'll sit down with an organization working to engage and educate Bronxites on how to live a healthy life. And later on, we'll find out about a film highlighting the importance of preserving culture. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we are now officially open. Hola mi gente, I'm your host Cristina Pagan, and today is Wednesday, September 25th, 2013. And of course, you are watching Open, the only live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us. You can find us on Twitter at BronxNetTV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Healing the Nations Foundation works to recover moral and spiritual values and foster spiritual awareness that empowers individuals and communities to take action for the greater good. We're pleased to be joined today by President and Founder, Reverend Dr. James A. Forbes, Jr. Welcome, sir.
Good to be with you, Christina.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about what the mission of the Healing of the Nations?
Just as it says, healing of the nations. Our nation is in serious trouble in many, many ways. There are great divisions between us. There is the loss of a sense of mission in our nation, and more than that, we are a nation in which our spiritual values have really largely disappeared as we have moved towards material acquisitions, etc., etc. So the job is where individuals and organizations and communities are in some way sub-optimizing, that is, falling beneath their potential. Our job is to try to find spiritual energy and insight to help make them whole again.
And how do you do that specifically?
Well, first of all, you need to know, Christina, that I am a preacher and that for 18 years I served as the senior ministry at the Riverside Church in the city of New York. Well, when I retired, I had too much energy left just to kind of go away to the golden sunset. So I decided to put together Healing of the Nations, gathering friends who are committed to health and wellness. And so what we do is we look at individuals as leaves from the tree of life. That is, our image is that every individual is a leaf from the tree of life, and we therefore commit ourselves to being conscientious about our individual health, that is body, mind, spirit, and emotions, relationships, the environment, our economic situation. That's personal. Each of us is called upon to be healthy in ourselves. But beyond that, since a leaf, interestingly enough, absorbs carbon dioxide from the air, and through the process of photosynthesis, nutrients from the ground and the sun, it produces food for the plant. But a byproduct of the leaf's activity is that it produces oxygen. Isn't that fascinating?
It is wonderful.
That it takes the negative carbon dioxide, makes food out of it, and then provides oxygen, which I look at as the capacity to have a healing influence for others. So you look at ourselves personally, let's be healthy. Then we look at our society. Let's be healthy as a society. So the Healing of the Nations Foundation is first us, and then through us, healing of others.
It's a very interesting metaphor you use there, where you can take that negativity and make it something positive for somebody else. Where if you've had a negative experience and you share that with somebody, maybe they're inspired to do something better and greater with their lives.
I think you've got it. I think you've got it.
Do you have regular meetings? How does your organization work?
Well, actually, we function by certain conferences. For example, you remember when H1N1 became a scare?
Right.
Then we came together as a group and asked, what can we do to inform churches, mosques, and synagogues about it? We sent out a whole package of how a congregation can enable its members to be conscious of the problem and to do something to safeguard our community from the ravages of that disease. Also, when the issue of violence came up, for an example, when the violence in Newtown, that awful massacre, we gathered our group, the Healing of the Nations Foundation, to look at what can be done to help in regards to the violence that's taking place. We had a full day's conference on that, and then I was sent up to Newtown to meet with the pastors of that community to talk to them about ways in which they could respond in the midst of that awful, awful crisis. So we try to keep our eyes open to where the problems are. Then we gather as a kind of think tank, looking at what options we have for making a difference. And then I, the preacher more frequently, I'm sent forth with the wisdom that comes from our group to try to minister in the situation.
I think it's very interesting that you just mentioned, especially with the H1N1, that you went to synagogues and mosques and churches, so you're an interfaith kind of group.
I think it's so important to say that if you talk about healing America, you have to move beyond the silos of individual religious traditions. If we are going to be strong as a nation, we must honor the various traditions. I have my tradition. I'm a Christian. I respect my Jewish colleagues, my Muslim colleagues, my Hindu friends, my Buddhist friends, because if we are going to be whole, we cannot be divided by religion or even by ideology.
Right, and it's like you said, we're all part of the same tree. We're branches of the same tree, and
yes.
I believe, as you're saying, that all these religions in the end all want peace and guidance and just to live peacefully with everybody else. So it's wonderful.
Yes, well, we found out after 9/11, when we gathered all of the religious traditions, we had maybe 12 different religious traditions together. All the religions had some form of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now we have different names, different rituals, but all of us understand that to be faithful to God, we'll have to learn how to treat our sisters and brothers with respect and with care. And I think once we understand that, we don't have to spend all our time fighting each other. We can find ways in which we come together to be a healing influence in the community.
Is there anything that you're working on now?
Right now, I am still working strongly on the issue of violence. You know, even after Newtown, you know, we find that then we go to Trayvon Martin. And then in Washington, D.C. at the Navy Yard, it looks like this violence just continues. So what I do is I preach about it and I also sing about it. I mean, I wrote a song about the blood of the children of Newtown. From the ground, it's still crying today. Listen to sound coming out of the ground. What are those children trying to say? And they're saying, make sure our blood is seen as sacred, trying to end shameful child sacrifice. Grieve for our demise with your eyes on the prize. Save the children, our blood paid the price. So we preach about it, we sing about it, we write about it, we engage congregations in looking at what can we do with the violence inside ourselves. We also are trying to get gun legislation, gun control legislation. Anything we can do to sort of say human family is going to be destroyed if we do not learn how to deal with the violence inside of ourselves. And also look at the issue of war. War will begin to destroy this great creation which God has built up. So any sickness, here we come. Healing the nation is our game.
Wow, that was beautiful. How do individuals get involved with the organization?
Well, First of all, when we have our consultations, we have a large invitation list so people can come to participate in the discussion. Obviously, the Healing of the Nations Foundation needs support, so that we certainly hope that people will go and offer their support so that we can keep on doing what we can do. They can write into us or even call into us about problems they're confronting, and we will come running with our resources to see what can be done as a community to address these concerns.
Do you have a phone number where they can call it?
Yes, they can call 212-280-1520.
Great. And do you happen to have a website at all? Or anything?
Yes. Right now, jforbes at uts.columbia.edu.
I think that's a little long. Can you try and give that again?
Yes, jforbes at uts.columbia.edu.
That's great. Thank you so much. Do you have any other parting thoughts that you might want to give some of our audience members?
Yes, the United Nations is meeting right now. General Assembly, leaders from all over the world. Because I'm a religious leader, I would just ask people, please pray that we will find a way from war and move towards peace. And I believe that prayer can make a difference. It may not change all of the leaders at the UN, but if we pray, it'll change us. And if we become changed, increasingly we will have impact in our homes and in our communities, and eventually, who knows, around the world.
It's a wonderful parting thought. Thank you so much. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll get a preview of a new program premiering on BronxNet, so stay tuned.
I love being in classrooms like this one and learning new things. But I'm a Brooklyn girl, and I know school can be hard. It's demanding, and we kids have many distractions, lots of other things we could be doing. Sometimes even your friends may tell you that school isn't cool, that it isn't the place to be. Don't listen to them. There's nothing more important than education. It's the key to everything else. It helps us understand our world and be better people, better friends, and better citizens. So stay in school, and don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough or smart enough. Be a star, shine brighter than anyone else, and you'll make the grade.
This has been a public service announcement of the Make the Grade Foundation. Go to makethegrade.org to learn more.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
The Writer's Room is a one-of-a-kind show giving literary lovers a rare opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the writing process. We're pleased to be joined today by host Jane Cleland to share more about what we can expect on the new show premiering on BronxNet in the next coming weeks. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much.
So how did the Writer's Room get started here on BronxNet?
I joined the faculty. On the faculty of Lehman College in the English department, and I have had a long fascination with writers' processes. I know how I write, but everybody's different, and it's so interesting to see how writers are able to bring their individuality, and I think it's actually inspirational and motivational because people think there's one way to do something. There's not.
There clearly is not.
Yeah.
What do you is this like a teaching program, or is it just an exploration?
It's an interview program. Each episode, for half an hour, I sit down with some of the most intriguing and successful authors of our time, and I ask them questions, the questions that I think I'm not the only one that want to know the answer to. Silly things like, do you outline? And then bigger issues. Where do you get your ideas? How long does it take you? How did you get published?
Right. And how did you come up with the idea for this program?
That's one of those questions, right? Where do ideas come from?
Right.
I'm pausing because I'm not sure. It was a dream, and it began to take shape in my head as what a wonderful opportunity BronxNet provides. You are offering a window into the world, and somehow knowing it was available, if I could formulate how it might work, it came together.
And you are the host of this show, and you're interviewing different writers. Do you have your students come and sit in the audience? What is that like?
We're hoping to do that. So far, it has been a private exchange. We sit over a table and we talk. One of the interesting things that has happened is that the authors I know pretty well. I'm a mystery author myself. I write the Josie Prescott Antiques Mystery Series.
Oh my goodness.
Josie is an antiques appraiser who uses her knowledge of antiques to solve crimes. Other authors that I know their work, I meet them at conferences, and yet when you have the opportunity to sit down one-on-one and really delve into issues, it's amazing what you learn that never in a million years would it have come up in a more casual conversation. I'll give you one example. Starting this week, St. Lefer, my first interview. And he was an artist. He was a fine artist who'd had really enormous success. He'd had a one-man show in Chicago. And after the show, which was a roaring success, the place burned down. All of his work was lost.
That's terrible.
It's terrible. Museums had lent it, private collectors had lent, everything was gone. He took that and created a protagonist in a book so that he channeled that horrific experience in a productive way. I didn't know any of that before I'd had the interview. Remarkable.
That is pretty remarkable how you take your life experience and put it into your work.
Yeah. Now think of all the aspiring authors out there who have a story to tell. Almost everybody has a story to tell. And it's encouraging to know that you can. You have the words. Usually what you don't have is the structure. What's the beginning? What's the middle? And how should this thing end? What the authors can talk about, and sometimes things just resonate, they ring bells in ways you didn't know they would, is how they approach that dilemma. And then things like how I keep it going. How do I keep the pace going? How do I keep readers turning the page? So we look at structure, we look at pace, we look at flow, we look at the words. I always read a little excerpt from one of their works so that we can listen to the cadence, the meaning of the words. And they're so beautiful, the writing.
Do you deal specifically with novelists, or do you also deal with poets? What is...
Novelists.
No.
So far, but I have in my mind to expand it and also to include the business of writing. We do talk about their road to publication, and so to have agents, publishers, editors on, I think it would be fascinating.
That sounds very helpful to the aspiring writer.
Exactly.
I mean, everyone has, like you said, everyone has their own story to tell. We all have our individual experiences, and maybe they want to coalesce and put it together and put it out.
Yeah, sometimes people think, gee, I want to write a memoir, but maybe they want to fictionalize it. And that's very common and can be very effective.
Indeed. I mean, I'm also a writer, but I usually write plays and things like that. But I also take my own experiences and I fictionalize it and make it a little more crazy than I would have if I was writing from my first-person experience.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's a lot of fun. And I think that a show like this would be wonderful for students especially, but also people, individuals who may not have thought that they had that power in them.
That's right. But, you know, even if people don't have an interest in writing, isn't it nice to get a little peek into a world that you may not know anything about, especially if you're a reader? How fascinating to see the people that you really like, that you admire, to see how they handle the situations that end up in this book that you enjoyed.
Right. I mean, I'm an avid reader, and imagine you talking to my favorite author, and I'd love to get a peek into her brain as to how she comes up with all these wonderful ideas.
Exactly. You got to tell me who that is, and maybe we'll see if we can get him on the show.
Oh, Anne Rice. I've been reading her books since I was about in 4th grade, and one of my favorite books of hers is The Witching Hour, and it's the thickest book she has, and it's this fascinating, detailed history of this family of witches, and how does she come up with each individual and how their stories come together? And
That's right.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. There's no substitute for talent.
Seriously. But how did you get started writing?
I have always been writing. I remember being a little girl and writing a Nancy Drew book. I was a fan, and at 7 years old, I wrote a Nancy Drew book. It involved a cow crossing a state line, which one must say shows a certain lack of worldly experience. From that, I always wanted to tell stories. I've written 4 nonfiction books in the field of business communications. And after the last one, my agent said, you know, you use so many examples and anecdotes. Have you ever thought of trying your hand at fiction? And so I did. And that created the Josie Prescott series. It's now the 8th book, came out in June.
Wow.
And number 9, I'm working on it right now.
My goodness. And what's your process like?
I work from a synopsis. I plot, and I carefully delineate all the major characters and the twists and how it's going to happen. And that is painful. That takes a lot of work. But once that's done, then I can just write the book.
How long has it taken you to write these 8 and now 9th book?
I write one a year.
Okay.
It's actually now slowing down a little, one every 13 months, 14 months. But the synopsis takes about 8 months of that process.
Wow.
And then the book itself, 3 months, 4 months.
Do you find that the words just flow once you've done the synopsis?
Often not. But what I find is if I write anything, it eventually comes. I revise a lot. My first draft is nothing. It's not unusual for me to have 15 or even 20 revisions.
Wow. Do you revise as you go, or do you finish a book and then go back and read and think, oh wait, no, that's not what I wanted there?
I revise as I go, but very often I'll be on page 240 of a 300-page book, and I realize it's gotten a little boring, and I need to do something. I burned someone's condo down once. That'll do it. But that meant I had to go back to page 15 and 70 and 120 to plant some clues that made that logical.
To foreshadow all of that coming
Exactly.
up.
And to add the complexity. Now, you just asked some of the questions that I would ask, and what's so interesting is Jonathan, for example, and our viewers will hear that in his upcoming interview, never outlines. He said it would paralyze him. He does all the discovery in the writing of the book. When he starts, he has no idea how it's going to end. I couldn't do that. The next interview coming up shortly is with Wendy Corsi Staub, a wonderful writer. She's written like 75 books. She has it all clear in her head, but doesn't put anything down on paper. She just knows in her head what the beginning is, what the middle is, what the end is. I find this fascinating.
That is pretty
so
fascinating.
different. 3 different ways, 3 authors.
Wow, that's incredible. We look forward to seeing the show. The show is Thursdays at 9:30 to 10 and Fridays from 1:30 to 2 p.m. on Channel 67 and Channel 33 and Verizon Fios. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. We have to take a quick break, but we'll find out more about some historic events you won't want to miss, so stay tuned.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And and it changed everything. This was my wish.
Long before I was in Hollywood, I had a grandmother by the name of Estelle Marie Taylor, positive role models to make sure that I was on the straight path. Big Brothers Big Sisters carefully screens volunteers and places them in long-term mentoring matches with kids who face adversity. With more volunteers, especially men, and more donations, every little who needs a big can have it. Start something. If it's been a while since you've been involved, start something again. Learn more at bigbrothersbigsisters.org.
Hello, welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. And in celebration of their 100th anniversary, El Diario La Prensa will have a number of exhibits featuring both their own history as well as Latino history in our community. We're pleased to be joined today by Javier Gomez to share more about what we can expect. Hello, Javier.
Good morning, Cristina. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So can you tell us a little bit about this exhibit? It's in the headlines, Latino New Yorkers, 1980 to 2001.
The idea of having an exhibit to celebrate El Diario's centennial came from the fact that back in 1992, about more than 20 years ago, the newspaper nearly lost its entire photo archive.
That's crazy.
There was a major flood. They were located on Varick Street. There was a main water break down the avenue, and then all of the vaults were completely, there you can see how it looked. The vaults were located in the basement, so all the photos from 1913 to approximately 1978, 1980 were completely ruined.
Wow.
The remaining of the photos were saved, and then El Diario has relocated twice. Now, the paper in 2002, the photo department went completely digitized. So the photo archive was decommissioned. Suddenly, to celebrate the centennial, the focus has been on education, pride, and legacy and preservation. El Diario joined forces with Columbia University to preserve the remaining of the archive, which is a beautiful portrait of Latino life and Latino history in this city. When they looked at the images, they said, this is beautiful. You know something? Why don't we open up this archive for the first time ever and show the public what's in here?
Right, it sounds fascinating. What are some of the images that we can expect to see?
We found a beautiful collage of images of what it meant to be Latino in this city from 1980 to about 2001, the day of the World Trade Center bombing. In different communities from the South Bronx to High Bridge to Upper Manhattan to Harlem. So there you will see what it meant to wake up in the morning and have your little café con leche and take your little kid to go to school, what it was to be a CUNY student, what it was to be a Lehman College student.
Right.
You will see images of the luchas, of the struggles. We all know New York in the 70s and the 80s, what not Disneyland.
Right.
It was pretty rough. But it was because of this community who said, basta, enough. We want to take our neighborhoods back. We want to take our communities back. And they fought very hard. Some people were arrested. It is a very tragic story, but it is also a story of triumph, a story of strength and perseverance.
Some of those pictures that look like the Young Lords and other organizations like that.
Basically, the exhibits are divided into 4 different satellites. One of them, it's at NYU, that covers themes for the entire city. That opens tonight.
Great.
And it'll be on display until December 20th, completely free. We already opened an exhibit in Washington Heights focused on the Dominican American experience in Upper Manhattan. And we, on October 7th, are opening a beautiful exhibit at Hostos Community College focused on the Bronx. In there, we will see all of the Bronx Renaissance movement that led us to the revitalization of the borough as we know it nowadays.
And what do you, I'm assuming that you've seen the pictures, what do you get from this archive? What does it mean to be Latino in New York City?
It's funny because when you look at the history of El Diario over the last 100 years, and when you narrow into the 3 decades that make this exhibit, or 2 decades actually, from 1980 to 2001, you see that Latinos are embedded, the Latino experience is embedded in the very fiber of this city. There is no way that you can envision this city without the Latino contribution. For example, if you have bilingual education in this city, it's thanks to the struggles that Latinos launched. If you go to a hospital and there is a translator required to be with you in the emergency room, that's also rooted there. If you are going to go to vote and there are foreign languages embedded in the paper ballot, that's also a part of this community struggle. So there is no aspect of New York City life that hasn't been touched by the Latino experience, and that is what this exhibit celebrates, and it has turned into a beautiful, beautiful love letter to this city and to the Bronx and the community that we call casa, that we call home.
And you said the Dominican American experience already opened. What has been the response from the community?
The response has been completely overwhelming because we are not only showing photos, we are also showing a collection of images and front pages that go along with it and tell a story of a community that said, we don't like what is happening. We want to have a great place to live and work and send our children to school. And they planted the flag and they transformed this community. We invited the Consul General's office of the Dominican Republic, and the Vice Consul did come to the ribbon cutting, to the opening. He loved it. As a matter of fact, he is already making arrangements to have the entire Upper Manhattan exhibit transferred to the Consul General's office in Times Square in celebration of Dominican heritage in February.
Oh, that's great.
It's really very exciting.
That is very exciting. So, El Diario La Prensa has been a very big part of Latino community and experience. Can you give us a little bit of background in the history of El Diario?
Yes, El Diario La Prensa was founded in 1913. It is now the oldest and the longest publishing Spanish language daily in the nation.
Wow.
It started as a weekly newspaper. Some people don't know it. It went daily in 1918. Some people are not aware, but it is actually two newspapers, El Diario and La Prensa. It is the result of a merger which happened in 1963. So we see it was created first in response to the Spaniard community that lived in the city, and they needed to have a connection to Europe because of the First World War. And from there on, the Puerto Rican community arrived and embraced it, and the newspaper became adapting. We have a beautiful history as well, which sort of emulates the history of the Hispanic community itself. I mean, the newspaper has been bomb attacked in 1978. We had one of our editors-in-chief murdered, Manuel de Dios Unanue, because of his aggressive reporting on drug trafficking and his effort to clean up neighborhoods. We were recently involved in the spy scandal of a few years ago, but regardless of the ups and downs, El Diario has always been there and said presente. All of the political empowerment, the housing deplorable conditions that El Diario has denounced throughout history, health conditions, labor rights, and now El Diario is a huge champion on the immigration law and immigration reform.
Right. It's wonderful to hear that we have been so much of a part of creating a better place that is New York City, and it's wonderful that this is going to be represented. So you said tonight we're opening in NYU.
Tonight we're opening at NYU, but we also have a huge calendar of events celebrating El Diario's 100th anniversary, and we want everyone, including you, to join us sometime. So very quickly, on October 7th, we are opening the exhibit in the Bronx. It's going to be completely free. And then on October 5th, we have a Spanish language day for families at the New York Historical Society.
Okay.
It's also going to be completely free for families and children. And very special for us, on October 12th, the Empire State Building will be lit in red and blue in honor of El Diario Centennial. So on October 12th, everyone, please search for the Empire State Building and make sure you have a snapshot of yourself with the tower lit behind you. Beautiful. Now, on October 25th, which is a Friday, we have a huge music and Latino theater festival at Grand Central Terminal. We have partnered with the Latino Theater Alliance, and we're celebrating the big way in Grand Central Terminal, which actually turned 100 as well in 2013.
Right.
And then in the evening, we have a beautiful gala. We have a whole array of activities in local neighborhoods as well, from film screenings, concerts, recitals. And that actually, they can go to El Diario Centennial website, which is eldiariony.com/100.
Okay.
And there is the entire calendar.
Oh, entire calendar of all the events.
In English and Spanish. You can put 100, you can put 100 in numbers or letters, doesn't matter.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Good luck.
We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll find out about a movement promoting health and wellness, so stay tuned.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Being a dad can be tough.
No. What do you mean she's not coming?
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now.
But when you're willing to do anything...
It is I, Cruz Zinkerbell. Okay, time for cake.
It's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Drew. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Welcome back to Open. We are joined by the new Bronx Works Heights Community Farmers Market. Is run by community volunteers and has a goal to promote healthy eating and local agriculture. We're pleased to be joined today by Bronx Works Nutrition Program Specialist Kimberly Wong to share more about the market. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about the Heights Community Farmers Market. Where is it located?
The Farmers Market is located on 181st and University Avenue, right across the street from Bronx Community College and the Francis Martin Library. In University Heights, Morris Heights.
And when did this get started?
The market started a year ago. This is our second year. And it was started by seniors at the Heights Senior Center and the Morris Innovative Senior Center, which are both run by Bronx Works.
And what kind of vendors do you have at this farmers market?
We have two local farmers from Goshen, New York. One is a Mexican farmer, and then the other one's run by a church, actually. So they both come from Goshen, New York, and they bring fresh produce every Thursday, selling it from 9 to 3 Thursdays.
And what's the benefit of going to the farmers market versus going to the supermarket or your local bodega?
That's a good question. The farmers bring the produce fresh. They pick it either the day before or that morning, and they're bringing locally grown produce, which is grown also without the use of chemical fertilizers, without use of pesticides. So it's healthier for the earth and healthier for the people eating it. Also, they sell at very good prices. The market accepts EBT, SNAP food stamps, and also WIC checks. A program called Health Bucks gives out $2 coupons to community residents, and also the Farmers Market Nutrition Program coupons, which are given out to senior citizens through New York State.
And what kind of vegetables and produce do they bring?
They bring whatever's available at the farms at the time. They might plant some. So it depends on that season. So right now we're getting a lot of winter squash and butternut squash, pumpkins, root vegetables, hardy greens. We're starting to see broccoli now.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, it's that time of the year. Over the summer, we had beautiful herbs, herbs that I'd never seen before. We had one called pipicha, and I didn't know what it was. It was a Mexican herb. They use it in salsa. It was delicious. So, yeah, you get to see some things that you don't see in all the market or in the regular grocery stores or in a bodega or the greengrocers. You see different things, so it's really exciting. Oh, also white eggplant. It's exciting, yeah.
You're a nutritionist. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and why a farmer's market is important for the Bronx community?
Sure. I'm a public health nutritionist, so I have a background in public health, which is a broader sort of way of looking at nutrition, and we want it to affect more people and change an actual community versus just an individual. So the farmer's market is a community-based, community-run program, and we're bringing fresh, healthy food to the community, and the community can benefit by eating that healthy food. In the neighborhoods surrounding the market, there's actually a lack of good healthy food and an overabundance of unhealthy food, like, fast food, dollar pizza. Those are the things that contribute to heart disease, diabetes, and obesity, which, as we know, are high, or the rates of those diet-related diseases and obesity are higher in the Bronx than America on a whole, or New York City on a whole.
Right.
So it's important to focus on this neighborhood and our communities in the Bronx.
And the farmers market is the way to do that. How is this farmers market different from? I didn't know there's a farmers market up in Riverdale that they do every Sunday. What's the difference?
Well, the more farmers markets, the better, of course. Our farmers market is great because it's run by our seniors at from BronxWorks and volunteers, and we also have a local community organization that they come and sell produce that's grown in a community garden by children. So it's actually grown only a few blocks away, and the kids are actually coming and selling these fruits and mostly vegetables and herbs to the community. So it's a very community-focused market.
That's wonderful. It's seniors from children to seniors. You have the community involved, and it's more than just about eating healthy. Then it's also teaching the children how to learn to grow things from the ground, how to be self-sufficient, a little bit of business too if they're selling.
Yeah, we actually, that's another thing, is we have the kids and the youth. We have youth programs at BronxWorks as well, and we've gotten the youth involved. They've been very helpful in selling our new products that we've been featuring. We've got locally produced or manufactured nuts and granola and dried fruits that are all certified organic. So our youth are selling those, and our seniors are also selling those.
What's been the response so far to the market? Do you have really large crowds? What's it been like?
It's been really good. We get people coming all the time, market goers. They come back. They come and shop every week. They're happy to have us there. They've told us, that they're just grateful that we're there.
It's also very convenient that you guys take SNAP benefits and WIC and EBT.
Right. We want it to be accessible to everybody, regardless of income level.
Because even in supermarkets, if you want to eat healthily, it can be very expensive.
Yeah.
So I guess it's great that the farmers market takes those kinds of benefits.
Yeah, and the farmers themselves, they don't charge. The prices are very fair. The quality also for what you pay in the farmers market is better than what you get in the grocery store, and it's also can be cheaper. And also when you're buying things that are locally in season, then that's when those things are most abundant. So they're selling it at a good price.
And it's amazing also, the things that you can get in a supermarket sometimes are so huge, they almost seem cartoon-like, and then when you go to a farmer's market, they're so much smaller, but you're used to the large sizes in the supermarket, and some people I know might say, oh, well, it's a smaller product, why am I paying this much? But the smaller product is the real fruit. It hasn't been enhanced by chemicals and all that other stuff, and it tastes so much better, and people just don't realize that.
Yeah, people always comment on the taste of the produce that we have, and sometimes it doesn't look perfect. It's not produced to look perfect. It's produced to taste good and to be the best product. So it's not always about what it looks like, which is what you see in the grocery stores.
That's right. So can you tell us again when and where we can find this farmers market?
Yeah, it's located in 181st Street and University Avenue, right across the street from Bronx Community College and the Francis Martin Library. We're there every Thursday from 9 to 3 through November 15th. We have to close when the farmers run out of food.
Well, yeah, if there's nothing to sell,
yeah.
You can't keep it open.
But yeah, it's a good time. It's good. It's a lot of fun. We have kid-friendly activities. Sometimes we have face painting. We have musical performances, art workshops, other things other than food as well. So it's a fun time. It's good if you're wondering what to do on a Thursday morning. It's a great place to be. We also have cooking demonstrations. I'm sorry, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So you have all this stuff. It's not just a market. You can learn and have the family there. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We have to take a quick break, but coming up, we'll get a preview of a unique cultural film. So stay where you are. We'll be right back.
Every year, mothers lose their babies to gun crimes. You'll always be your mother's baby. So before you commit a gun crime, think about who you'll leave behind. Gun crimes hit home.
Gotta get this. Oh, I must be careful. Well, that's a nice picture.
Come on, Anna.
Okay.
Foreclosure doesn't affect just you. It affects your whole family, too. If you've fallen behind on your mortgage, we can help. Call 1-888-995-HOPE, because nothing is worse than doing nothing.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
Garifuna in Peril features the story of one man's effort to preserve his culture. And joining us today to share more about the film and this rich Central American culture are Teofilo Colon Jr. We're missing everybody else, so welcome. How are you? You're supposed to have a group of people. What happened?
We've been all over the place.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you have to excuse me. I'm having a moment. I have officially arrived. I am on Open with Cristina Pagan.
Oh, no. Don't say that.
I'm so happy to be here.
So I'm happy that you're here. Oh, we're on Skype. I'm sorry. Nobody told me. Excuse me. We're also here with Ali and Ruben Reyes. Hi, guys. They didn't tell me this.
Good morning, Christina.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me for my ignorance. How are you this morning?
We're great and happy to be on. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic. So can you tell me a little bit about the film and how it got started? Anybody?
Well, this film is the first dramatic film that has most of its dialogue in Garifuna language.
Mm-hmm.
My partner here, Ruben, and myself have been thinking about making this film for almost 10 years, and it's something that's been a labor of love, and we're happy that Teofilo is bringing it back to New York.
So
yes, this film is a very exciting movie, and we hope that people will be able to learn a little bit more about Garifuna and their struggle in St. Vincent, the Caribbean, and also in Central America.
So Teo, can you give me a little bit of background on what your involvement in the project is?
I was brought on in January to help market and promote the film.
Mm-hmm.
I am the founder of a blog website called beingarifuna.com, or Bien Garifuna, and I've achieved a small bit of notoriety regarding the website, and I agreed to help them out and get the word out about the film to the community and to the world.
That's interesting. Ali, how did you get involved? What is your role in the film?
Well, Ruben and myself, we both co-directed the film. I've been involved with Garifuna culture for about 15 years. I made another film a long time ago called El Espíritu de mi Mama, which also showed around at film festivals in New York. And at one of those screenings, that's where I met Ruben. That film was about a Garifuna woman exploring her own culture, but it was in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And that's when Ruben saw that film, he challenged me. He said, well, you have a film about Garifuna people, how come it's only in Spanish with no Garifuna language in it? So I said to him, well, if you want to see a Garifuna movie, why don't you make one?
And then I took that challenge seriously. 10 years later, we are producing the first Garifuna film made in the Garifuna language primarily. It's 55% in the Garifuna language, and it has subtitles in English. And the rest, it also has Spanish, and English in it.
That's fascinating. So what draws you? I mean, obviously, Ruben, you are Garifuna, but Ali, what draws you to tell these stories about the Garifuna people?
Well, it's just something that I kind of, in a way, fell into. 15 years ago, I was doing some volunteer work in Honduras in an orphanage, and I met the man who ran that orphanage was Garifuna, and this was The first time I encountered Garifuna or found out anything about it, I went back to Honduras several times. I ended up marrying a Garifuna woman, so it kind of became part of my personal life about 15 years ago. So it's just something that it's inside me, and I just keep going with it because I get a lot of support and people seem to react positively to the work that we're doing. And I think the two of us, Ruben and I, we coming from different backgrounds with different skill set, and so together we bring a whole set of tools and experience that neither one of us could bring by ourselves.
That's very interesting. I know that the Garifuna culture and Garifuna people here in the Bronx have really been coming out and celebrating themselves and their culture over the last few years, especially.
Yes.
Teofilo, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'd say over the last 5-6 years, there's been a consistent effort to just bring the Garifuna community out the closet, so to speak, and just being more fully engaged and involved in the general society in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I've helped push and promote that along by just documenting events and different things that are taking place within the Garifuna community in New York City, which is home to the largest concentration of Garifuna people outside of Central America.
I know the BronxNet is also very heavily involved with promoting those kinds of events with Sulma Arsu.
Precisely.
Who's everywhere and wonderful, the way that the dancing and the music, and I didn't even know that there were Garifuna people until I met her and came here to BronxNet. It's fascinating.
Really? Okay.
What do I know? Just a girl from Queens.
Well, many people don't know that there was an infamous event that took place in New York, in the Bronx, called the Happy Land Social Club Fire. It happened on March 25th, 1990, and most people don't know that almost half of the victims, of the 82 victims, were of Garifuna descent.
Wow.
It was, long story short, there was a guy from a Cuban refugee who got into an argument with his girlfriend who was refusing to take him back. So he decided to set fire to this club, or set fire to the only exit of the club.
Wow.
To kind of get at her, and basically burned the club down. And 82 people died, and 40-something were Garifuna.
Oh, that's horrible. I thought you were going to say that was like a race-related crime. I was like, wow, that's... Okay, it was just a lover's dispute. That's terrible. Either way.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about... Ruben, can you tell us a little bit about the film and what we can expect to see?
Yes, actually, this film is going to be showing... today is the last day to meet the quota, so to speak, or the threshold. So we like people to keep buying these tickets online. We have about 26 more tickets to meet the threshold. Otherwise, there will be no show. So please rush to this website, GarifunaImperialMovie.com/New York, /NY, and purchase a ticket there. If there is no show, they won't charge your credit card. So go ahead and purchase for your friends, for your relative, for yourself. And we need to show this at the big screen in New York City.
Ruben is actually also in the film. He plays the lead role. And he plays a role that's kind of similar to himself, but not himself. Ruben is, in fact, a Garifuna language teacher in real life, and he plays the role of Ricardo, who is also a Garifuna language teacher. Many of the people in the film most of the people in the film are acting for the first time. So you're going to see a lot of new talent, and the reviews have been very good that the performances are very outstanding, especially for people without much experience.
And to me, it was very intricate to be able to perform in this film and be able to participate and direct it, because we have a story to tell. People don't really know about Garifuna and how important Garifuna is to society. We are the children of Africa and America together. We are black people with a Native American language and culture. I think it's important for the African American to know that this brother, Garifuna, were the one who survived in this continent without enslavement. And it's also important for the native people to know, the Caribbeans and Latin America, that these people of black skin have kept alive a language that is no longer spoken by their own people. So I think, it's important for them to see this film and understand a little bit more about, the struggles.
That's fascinating. Teo, can you tell us a little bit about what the trajectory for this film is since you're promoting it? It's at this theater downtown.
It's at the AMC Lowe's on 19th and Broadway, 890 Broadway, 2 blocks north of Union Square.
Okay.
We're also, should the screening take place, which it looks like it'll take place, but we need you to buy tickets and go to the website. We're also planning a small ceremony honoring exceptional Garifuna youth in New York City. Just a small salute to there are a number of youths that are doing outstanding, amazing work, and this is a way to introduce them to the larger New York City community.
That's great. Can you tell us again where they can buy tickets?
GarifunaImperil.com or GarifunaImperilMovie.com/NY.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us from LA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina.
Good luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sereme.
It's been a pleasure coming into your homes. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 10 p.m. on Cablevision Channel 67 or FiOS Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Have a great week, and don't forget to keep your heart, mind, and most of all, this channel wide open. We leave you with a look at the trailer for Garifuna in Peril. Enjoy.
Man, Biti. This is the type of home that the Garifuna people live in the Central American region. My brother Miguel is there. He's the one that's going to take you from one village to another. I am a Garifuna language teacher, and my oldest son can't even speak the language.
I don't see how learning Garifuna is going to help me in life.
We are the result of an African father and a Carib Arawak mother. That's who we are.
You see that English flag over there?
Nah, man. That's not an English flag.
What do you see?
I see a Garifuna flag.
Aole satuye. Habuti abutiku hadakainu.
Kadari haru.
Hari.
Hasta no yo lo veía. Me llegó feo de la cadena.
Hoy es tu día de suerte.
¿Cómo va a ser mi día de suerte? Se me arruinó el vehículo.
No, yo te digo que hoy es tu día de suerte.
¿Por qué?
Porque vas conmigo.
Eso sí, por algo se me arruinó el vehículo.
Ya sabes. Avan isamina lo mabisamina. Lo hago le digo que tiene Ricardo Cate y lo malamolo.
Mi hermano que quiere hacer todas las cosas nobles, como hacer una escuela garífuna para enseñar garífuna. Ajá, y yo que hago todo el trabajo, ¿qué consigo con esto?
¿Alguien es un gringo a poco para Japón?
Hey, bravo, y mote ni que dugole. Feud na bana me por la dura agua ni lámpara.
Como dice, man, like you manufa no le heri. Ni la mega.
¿Estás seguro que te quedarás conmigo?
Claro.
Garifuna people could be benefiting more from tourism if those patronatas weren't so patronizingly stubborn.
Sati and all the other guys in our history, they didn't turn their back and say, nah, I don't feel like it. When the time came, they fought.
That's freedom. We will fight for survival. We always have and we always will.